I'd had 3 part-time jobs, and at that point I was doing quite well, I was managing quite well.
Vanessa Newell never thought it would happen to her.
I was diagnosed with breast cancer 4 days before Christmas. All of a sudden I found myself without a job, without an income.
Within weeks, she was struggling to put food on the table.
My fridge was becoming bare, my cupboards were bare, and I was really scared. I was thinking, how am I going to get through? What am I going to eat?
And Vanessa's story is mirrored around the country. In the past year, 3.7 million households have battled food insecurity. That's more than the total number of all households in Sydney and Melbourne combined. 77% experiencing food stress for the first time.
Ultimately, we're saving people, I guess. We're helping them sleep easier at night. Kids going to bed with a full belly means the world to us.
As the cost of living spirals, the face of hunger is changing. Many are now under 45, earning middle incomes and living in cities. A job no longer a guarantee there'll be food on the table.
I was concerned that I wasn't eating like I should be, buying things like an avocado. That wasn't possible for me. I was on a very limited budget.
And despite more households struggling, the number of us reaching out for help has dropped.
I didn't think at the time that I deserved it or I was entitled to it, but I soon realised that food relief is available for people in need, and it was life-changing really for me.
Foodbank CEO Brianna Casey is seeing this food crisis unfold and is with us now to discuss it. Brianna, how exactly is it that people in full-time work now need to go to the food bank?
In very simple terms, expenses are outpacing income. When we look at the housing crisis, and we need to look at the fact that about 1/3 of mortgage holders and 1/2 of renters are struggling at some point to put a meal on the table or feeling anxious about whether or not they can do so. The cost of housing, the cost of utilities, the cost of food and groceries, the cost of petrol, the cost of public transport, everything is going up and at a very rapid pace, and unfortunately incomes are not keeping up. So people are finding that when they're balancing the household budget, food has become a discretionary item and for some even a luxury.
You've been hearing some pretty terrible stories as well from school principals. What sort of impact is this food crisis having on kids?
We know that parents are working incredibly hard to shield their children from the realities of what's going on, but we know increasingly there are numbers of children going to class hungry. And what we're hearing shocking stories of from some school principals is children who are asking to go to the bathroom during class time, and they're actually going through other children's school bags to try and find something to eat. And I don't begrudge them that, they're hungry. Of course.
Incredible to believe that that's actually happening today in Australia. Brianna, would you mind defining food security for me? And then on top of that, on the ground, I mean, how embarrassed are people when they have to turn up to food bank and ask for a handout? I mean, I think that must be just mentally so challenging for people.
Well, first things first, we don't see it as a handout, it's a hand up. We're here to help you when times are tough. And if we look at food insecurity, it's a spectrum. It starts with food security, where you have the resources to put a meal on the table routinely. It shifts into that low level of food security where you might be really anxious about whether or not you're going to be able to make ends meet. You'll see this in the supermarket. It's people getting to the checkout and placing those expensive items back at the top of the checkout because they can't afford to take them home. Right through to people who are making pretty significant compromises on the type of food they're eating and how often they eat, right to the severe end of food insecurity, where people are skipping meals and going entire days without eating. We know only about 1/4 of food insecure households are reaching out to formal food relief organisations like Foodbank. About 1/3 are leaning on the kindness and generosity of neighbours and friends and loved ones. But about 1/2 are not asking for food relief at all. And we know that behind that is shame, is stigma, is embarrassment. There's no shame in asking for help. Let's think back to COVID, where everyone knew someone who'd lost employment, lost hours, lost a job. We didn't judge them for the fact that life got in the way, and that's what's happening in the cost of living crisis. If you need food relief, it's precisely why we're here. It's as simple as jumping on our website, clicking a Find Food button, we'll do the rest.
Such an important message, Brianna. Thank you so much for sharing that with us tonight. It feels like we're just in a situation we're not used to, and this is a moment we're going to have to meet as a country. So thank you for helping us with that. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.